What is up, good people? Welcome back to the video version of the Tone Mob podcast. Don't forget, this has been an audio show for like a decade, so if you want all the episodes, go over to Spotify, Apple, or here on YouTube, where you can listen to all of the back episodes. But this week, I am talking to my new buddy, Jordan Buckley. Jordan played in a band called Every Time I Die, who I absolutely love, and he's now in another band called Better Lovers, who I also absolutely love. He's a great dude, he's a great guitarist, he's an awesome visual artist, and we get into all that stuff. We get into gear, we get into a lot of different topics. But one of the things we talk about, if you didn't follow Every Time I Die, you might be a little confused on. We talk about their kind of end, and they had a rough end, and it was very public and very messy. And Jordan is sort of processing this still to this day, and he talks about it a lot on this episode. So if we're talking about things that you're a little unfamiliar with, that is what we're referring to, and we get into a lot of kind of more high-level conversations about it. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I haven't heard him be this open about things before, so if you're an Every Time I Die fan, this might be something you really want to check out the entire episode of. And if you just want to get into gear talk, well, that's towards the end, so you can do that as well. We had a great conversation over on Patreon as well. If that's your thing, you can help support the show, and you can hear Jordan talk about his history with visual art. It was really, really cool. All right, without further ado, let's get into this conversation with my dude, Jordan Buckley. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, a show about guitar stuff, occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today I have Jordan Buckley.
Hi.
From Better Lovers.
What's that?
And Every Time I Die, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm a big fan, so
thank you.
I'm stoked to have you here and see what kind of ridiculousness we can get into.
I got it. I need a haircut, huh?
Nah.
Anyway, sorry. I haven't looked at myself on video in a minute. I need a haircut. I didn't know. Just for people watching, this is my right hand, and usually I'm used to just FaceTiming with my kid, and so
Yeah.
that's obviously like you're mirrored, so you raise your right and it looks like your left. So this is the first time after a month of FaceTiming with my kid that I see things how other people see them. And
Right.
it's tripping me out.
We're all about getting trippy, so it's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've done this way so much that the other way freaks me out.
Yeah.
So,
Or like when I do like a cameo, or if I do like from some social media stuff, like it looks like I play left-handed, but I'm not. So I'm used to it looking weird. I'm not used to it looking not weird. So now not weird. Weird.
Not weird is weird. Time is a flat circle. What it is, what are we doing? Who knows?
Right. Good point.
Well, hey, just for the listeners and the watchers, these go on so many platforms now. It used to be audio only, and now it's not, and I don't know what life is anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I am just getting over a bout of illness, so I'm going to do my best not to cough, but it may happen. I've got a large jug of water, and we'll just do our best, but I'm just letting you guys know.
That's a big no-no in the podcast world, coughing probably, right?
Yeah, and people don't tend to just love their ears being coughed into.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's kind of shocking. You don't really let anyone know it's coming, and then it's there. I would just feel weird if people were like, I hate him, he coughs. Like everybody coughs. But then I guess you're right. If you're listening to it, you might want a heads up. If you're focusing.
I'm gonna attempt to I got a little mute button here, and I'm gonna attempt to use it when it comes up, but sometimes the coughs hit fast and you can't do it.
I had a bad one. I was keeping my band up. I felt, and then you feel bad, because you're like, I don't want to cough. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not choosing to do this. But yeah, there was we got lucky because we were just out for 5 weeks in the cold, and so it could go bad. But no one really got sick. And then that last week, I had this cough, and I was hiding it, and I was I could just tell it was 2 a.m, and you have one of those cough attacks that just won't stop. And you're mad at your own self. Yeah.
Yep. I've been sleeping in my son's room for the last week and a half, and he is sleeping in my position in the bed because I'm coughing all night, and
And you want to make sure that all the germs go in his room.
Well, yeah, I want all the germs to be stuck on his pillow, and yeah. It's
Cool.
not because I'm trying to keep my wife asleep.
You got to do it.
Yep.
Whatever it takes.
Well, man, you have been a busy man. I'm not even sure where to start. Oftentimes, I'll have people on for the first time, and I'll be like, "Let's take you through the backstory." But your backstory is rather deep. I've been following you guys, your projects for 20 years,
Wow,
probably.
thank you.
So,
Yeah, it's been a minute, huh?
yeah. I think since Gutter Phenomenon was probably like the
That was
first
like
thing
2003.
yeah, somewhere in there. So
That's how, I mean, I can kind of categorize my life based on the music, I guess is the best way to put it. Like when I know years, I know cities, I know events pretty much just based on what was I doing, like what tour was I on, what record was I on. And so, if you said name something you did in 2003, I could say Gutter Phenomenon. I couldn't say anything else,
right.
but I could say Gutter Phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that record really was an eye opener for me because I was into like a lot of the stuff of the time, but you guys were so different with your approach. And I'm sure you've talked about this a bunch over the years, but it's just almost more rock and roll versus the straight ahead metal. There's definitely
Yeah,
metal
oh,
and
for sure,
hardcore
for sure,
elements,
for
but
sure.
it reminded me more of kind of a classic rock influence. But I've been curious what your influences are.
It's when you're coming out of hardcore, growing up in a hardcore scene, or you get labeled this genre or that genre. Your rock and roll was almost like a bad word. Like you didn't want to be like, no, we're hardcore. We're
Mm-hmm.
no, we're a Buffalo hardcore band. No, and then I hate the term metalcore only because I'm not a fan of. That's not what I was ever looking for. I was never looking to fit into something. It was always make something fit around us. Like we're gonna do it, and then like you decide what it sounds like. I guess if you have to, it was
Mm-hmm.
never like a hey, let's sound like this. Let's make sure we write a song that can get us put in this section of the record store, kind of thing. So it, yeah, I to say you were rock, you back then it kind of had like a bad connotation, like you were trying to be on the radio or like you were
Right.
putting yourself with kind of a cheesier, watered down version of heavy music, but looking back on it, if you go back further than the late 90s 2000s, rock and roll, you really just only think about radio stuff. But going back before that, rock and roll bands were cool.
Yeah,
Classic
totally.
rock bands were cool. Jimi Hendrix was cool. Led Zeppelin was cool. Um, my dad's favorite was Pink Floyd, and so I had a lot of that around the house. But as far as my personal influences, um, let's see. The go-to answers, I would have to say, what made me want to play guitar was your Nirvanas and your Green Days and your Rage Against the Machine, all the anti stuff. Everyone's trying to find themselves when they're a young teen, and everyone wants to be rebellious. And I clung to some music that sounded rebellious. It sounded like, oh, we don't want to sound like we're on the radio. We don't want to sound like we want to be on the radio. We're anti-popularity, even though I was watching them on MTV. You couldn't really get more popular than that.
Right.
And guitar-wise, I learned that, and if anyone's ever heard me tell these stories, I apologize, but I can't keep I tell the truth, and it's the truth. I learned Dookie, I learned Nevermind, and I learned Rage Against the Machine self-titled front to back, and it made me kind of go, oh, you don't have to be a wizard to be
Mm-hmm.
at the top of your field. Like in athletics, I'm a sports guy and I grew up playing sports. you couldn't get to the top without being the best. And I found a very cool contradiction to that with music, where, When I Come Around is 4 chords, or Territorial Pistons is 3 power chords. So it was the yin to the yang of athletics, where you're like, you have to practice and practice and practice and practice and practice and get good and be surrounded by the best and be at the right place at the right time and seize every opportunity if you want to be at the top. Whereas I was like, wait, I can play this. This is weird. Why? I'm 12. Why can I play the song that's on MTV once an hour? This shouldn't be. And so that's why I kind of took a liking to it, is because of the ease. But then again, as you grow with all of your crafts, you want to perfect them. You want to get better at them. But yeah, the simple stuff was my biggest influence. And then from there, I discovered the Buffalo hardcore scene. I went to a Despair Integrity show when I was 13 years old.
Awesome.
And to this day, Converge changed my life. When I saw them, I was probably 14, 15 maybe, and I was just like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do the thing where the whole room explodes. I want to do the thing where the walls crumble, and I saw him at a 200 probably cap bar, but when you're 14 years old, it feels like 1,000 people are there, but it was probably 200 people. But there wasn't it was 200 people that were all moving. There wasn't a single person standing still, except for me, because I was hiding. So that was my journey. My dad had the guitars laying around, and he had the rock on the radio, on the stereo, and then that moved to your Nirvanas and your grunge, and then I found Buffalo hardcore, and it was all downhill from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that we
by the video thing, but go on.
It's interesting. We have a lot of the same influences. The first song I ever learned to play by myself was "Smells Like Teen Spirit." I was sitting down and was like, similar thought process though. I'm going, they're probably doing other things.
Right.
This can't be right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you look and you watch and you're, no, that is what they're doing.
This is it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked like they were having a lot of fun doing it. That was also crucial to. You didn't think about it at the time, but then looking back, you're like, oh, that was a very important part of the recipe. Was the I never really clicked with bands that metal. I never really clicked with the metal bands because they all looked like they were taking themselves so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I kind of, even though that's the scene we were welcomed in, kind of, depending on what tour, that's why to this day, the biggest compliment you can get is that it looks like you guys are having fun.
It does. I mean, it does look like you guys are having fun.
Yeah, so. It's genuine. So that means we are.
Mm-hmm. What was it difficult trying to, you guys have always presented yourselves as yourselves. It's always felt very genuine.
I hope so. There were a couple years where I was like, never mind. Go on. I won't get too dark, too deep, too soon. But
hey, you go wherever you want to go. That's totally.
You finish the question, and then we'll see if it goes there.
Yeah, well, I was wondering if that was ever challenged. You guys have some goofiness to your the way you present yourselves, because that's who you guys are. You like to have fun. You like to do what you want to do. Was there any pressure from labels, or did you feel pressure in the scene to be a little more serious, a little more sad, a little more something that you're not?
As far as Every Time I Die goes, no. It was 2006 when we filmed that Happens DVD, and what we kind of again, I took a real liking and kind of felt a connection with the Pantera home videos at the time, because again, it was, I'm not going to name names, but the DVD boom was kind of happening, and our friends' bands and our friends' labels were putting out DVDs, and they were, I'd say like 90% live footage, maybe 10% offstage footage, and that offstage footage was them taking themselves too seriously. And so when we kind of, I grew up on Jackass, and the Pantera home videos, the goofiness of it. That's the shit I liked watching. That's the shit I liked seeing. I liked seeing people have fun, and so kind of without sitting down and saying, okay, here's our mission statement, we just were editing, and we're just like,
put that in there.
yeah, we kind of realized that we had flipped the ratio. It was like, okay, this is like 90% off stage, 10% on stage, and it was just such a wild success that it's when you're being yourself, and when you're achieving recognition and some sort of success for it, you never really, that's a great thing about authenticity, is that you never have to sit down and say, okay, keep being yourself. You're just in a groove, you're in a river, you're just flowing with life. You don't, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're yourself at all times, you don't have to plan for it. You can just ride the wave of life, and that's what we were always doing. And I feel like anytime we did get like, okay, maybe we should be more serious on this tour because it's Lamb of God and Unearth, and the guys that we knew backstage as goofballs, but on stage were taking themselves, again, I hate to keep using the same phrase, but taking themselves very seriously, and respect to them, because that's what they were going. They achieved massive success and still do, because they're better guitar players than us, because they take their music more seriously, because they probably took their live shows. I mean, Every Time I Die never even had production. We straight up never. By the last tour, we like had some like semi homemade light rig that we made our merch guy figure out how to use. Production, and it's apples and oranges. That's what worked for us. But no, there was never really like a point where it was like, hey, stop dicking around so much. But towards the end of the band, that's just kind of how it naturally happened, and why the band just kind of, everybody kind of just felt like this isn't what it used to be, and why it needed to end.
Yeah, totally. And when you guys made that decision, did you think, maybe I'm not going to do music now, or was that never even a thought?
I got that all out of the way during the pandemic. As I'm sure most, as I know, I've had a lot of conversations with friends who said that the pandemic was when they were like, I don't know if I'm ever doing this again. Everyone from, off the top of my head, Saves the Day to Nails, I've had either kind of conversations with, or read interviews where they said, yeah, during the pandemic, I thought that was it. And during the pandemic, for me, I knew, well, obviously you think about everything. You let yourself have every thought you can, and then you see which ones stick around. And so by the time the pandemic was done, no, there wasn't. It was kind of decided, like, I got to keep doing this, especially because we had a record recorded. The last Every Time I Die record was recorded and done the week before the pandemic. I mean, I'm talking like we finished on a Tuesday, I think, or a Monday, and that Friday was March 13th, and when everything shut down. So we kind of knew, like, okay, as soon as this pandemic's over, we're good, because we got a record, and we didn't want to put it out during the pandemic. Again, I don't want to call out any bands, but we saw some of our peers putting out records during the pandemic, and it just wasn't going well for them. And I understand why, because when I put out a record, I want to go play those songs. I don't want to. I would hate to put out a record and then continue to sit down and do nothing. So in the back of my head, I was like, okay, as soon as this is over, we're good. We have our best record yet, and we're just going to drop it. So I got all those thoughts out of the way of maybe this is it. Maybe shouldn't be doing this anymore. And then when the band ended, it was even less of a fact. I was in shock for so long after Every Time I Die broke up that I couldn't even consider not doing it. It was like, did you ever get hurt as a kid? And you're like, no, I'm fine. And
Yeah.
you gotta pretend you're not, even though you're like, oh, okay. You got the wind knocked out. You're like, no, I'm cool.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like, that was me for like a year and a half after Every Time I Die. It was just like, all right, let's go to practice. All right, Steve, Goose, what you guys can you, when are we all getting to Buffalo? All right, Andy, can you do this? Do you want to do this? Okay, you're going to come to practice? Okay. Okay, you're not? Okay, we're going to practice. We're going to write a couple songs to Andy. Okay. Okay, now he's going to go to do wrestling full time. That's no problem. We're going to go record with Will. Okay, we don't have a vocalist. No problem. Let's go. Let's just record an EP. Like, we straight up recorded, me, Goose, and Steve recorded an EP with Will without a vocalist before Will was even in the band.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how it got written and how it got recorded. It was just like no time to stop, like almost like if you're running on a treadmill and you fall, it's pretty hard to get back on that treadmill. And I didn't want to admit that I had fallen off the treadmill. For a year and a half, I was in shock about how it all went down, about how it happened, period. And so I was just like, all right, no, let's just keep writing. Let's go. Because it's, technically, I didn't have I didn't have anything written for 2 years anyway, because we wrote and re-recorded Radical, and then we sat on it for a year and a half, and then we put it out, and then we did like less than a year of touring on it. So my creative being inside of me, it doesn't know from COVID and pandemic. It's like, let's write more music. Let's go. Like, it didn't know I took. You can't tell this creative urge inside of you. You can't tell that. Like, no. Remember, we took a year off. It's like, no, we don't take years off. We got to keep going. So I just had all this new stuff written, and I put it together with Steve and Goose, and then we brought it to Will. And then once Andy kind of sat us down and was like, I can't do it. I'm doing wrestling full time. That's when Will seemed to throw his hat in the ring at the same time Greg did. And, now we're here. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm in a pretty ripping band with some ripping dudes. So it's like,
you are.
Yeah.
You are. The new material is man, it's so good.
Thank you so much.
I was so excited when it came out, because I as a big fan, it was hard for just I'm speaking for the audience a little bit here. I hope I'm not putting too many words in people's mouths, but for me and my friend group, it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. It was like, this band is over? What? No. Right. Yeah. No. Like I came out of I remember where I was, and I can't really say that for almost any other band. I literally remember where I was, and I texted my friends like, this can't be real. This is not what's going on, right? And I can only
I mean, I still haven't told the whole story, and we haven't told the whole story.
You don't have to.
No, but I'm one day I will, and it just kind of shows. I'm just kind of patting myself on the back here, because, if we did this interview 2 years ago, one, we wouldn't be able to, because I couldn't even get the words Every Time I Die out of my mouth.
Sure.
If we did it a year ago, I'd be hiding under this table, just because it's just so like triggering and cringy, and I still had so much unprocessed emotion, and I still do. And so I just like to use podcasts and interviews almost as a way of self evaluating my progress, where it was like, I can't talk about that now. I can't. There's no way. I look like I look up to stand-up comedians and the fact that they can get on stage and make jokes about how in their life is, and that's the ultimate goal. Not to do stand-up, but the goal is to just be able to shoot with anyone about it, and have it not, trigger these unenjoyable feelings inside of me. You have to. That's true mental strength. That's true emotional strength, when you can just be like, nothing has power over me anymore. And for coming up on 3 years, man, for 3 years, it absolutely had power over me. Where I couldn't sleep for months. It was so unfair, and I was just like, how you couldn't even get your thoughts out. I have like journals full, just because I just needed to get these thoughts out of my head so that I could get on to the next thought. Like I had a life to live. Like I had a son to raise. I had a life to not just live but to enjoy. Like I'm not here just to get through a day. I am here to enjoy every day, and I didn't have joy for well over a year. So let's talk. Let's set the calendar, and we'll talk in 1 year. And who knows? Maybe I'll be like, "Oh, you should have seen it, dude. On this day, this happened."
Oh man, I would love that, because this is gonna be the last podcast I record this year. I think I'd have to double check the calendar, but I'm pretty sure it is, and it'll be the first episode of 2025.
Yeah, let's make it a tradition that I'm your last guest every year, and we just get a little bit more. I mean, I'm at the point now where it's like, do I want to like make this into like a 4-part like Netflix crime documentary, showing who murdered every time I die? Do I want?
Oh man.
I mean, I have a book written. That was just another thing that I did because of just getting thoughts out of my head. I wasn't trying to write a book. I'm just like, I just needed to get it out. The next thing I know, I'm 150 pages deep. I'm like, holy, this is gonna, if someone kills me off, I gotta leave this in a safe so that when I'm gone, people can tell my story. But yeah, I mean, we can joke about it now, and it doesn't like drive us crazy.
That shows a lot, because it's not just this little thing, right? It was what you did for most of your life.
It had a ripple effect that rippled and affected every single aspect of my life from top to bottom in every way. I mean, obviously there's the finances, and then there's relationships, and then there's purpose, and there's destiny, and there's your future, and there's your past, and there's your present, and there's your health, there's your physical health, there's everything was affected. And I was thinking about that too, because we had that Christmas festival this past weekend, and that's become the season that we did. It was like, and I've had this thought, and I've had this confirmed with talking to people, like, we're getting older, I guess. I never want to do the cliche, I'm old now, let's complain about everything that hurts guy. I don't want to put that out in the world. I got yoga later today. I'm feeling great. So I try not to put that out into the world, but my age, my numeral age is increasing. And so as that happens, you tend to just see people less in your life. You tend to lose friends. You tend to run into people less and less. And the Christmas shows, not just for me, but for a lot of people, were like, this is where I know, if I don't see you in the spring, if I don't see you in the summer, if I don't see you in the fall, I know I'm going to see you in Buffalo at Christmas time. Everything from high school friends to cousins to people met and got married, and that got taken away. So I'm just so glad that we built that up. We were stimulating Buffalo's economy because people were flying in from around the world. I remember there was I saw a clip, a guy won, or he was on like an Australian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or like what's the one with the banker and the cases?
I know what you're talking about. But
he was, yeah. Anyway, they asked, what are you going to do if you win the money? And he said, well, my favorite band puts on a show in Buffalo, New York every year, and I want to fly there. This guy was on an Australian like national television talking about it, giving us a shout out, and so it was a big deal, and it affected everything in a bigger way than anyone could even imagine, and so. We're not trying to, and I apologize if I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but
no, you're good.
We're not trying to just be part two. We never were. We're not trying to be Every Time I Die part two. We're not trying to be do Tid the Season part two. But we're just like, listen, man, we can't sit around and do nothing. Like, what do you want? This is what we're here for. This is what we built. This is what we're good at. This is what we know how to do. This is what makes people happy. Raising crazy money for charities, making people enjoy giving them a reason to come to Buffalo in winter and loving it. It bringing people together. What you want us to just stop? Like and we didn't do it at the same place with the same events the first year because we didn't want everyone to see us as like just kind of grabbing at the ashes and trying to put it back together. This is just the next chapter, man. This is just what we do. I'm always doing this. I'm always going up. I'm always looking forward. And so it was just a stumble. It was just, that's all I can, in my life, I will just have to, the goal is to just look back at 2021 and 2022 is just a big old obstacle that we were able to overcome. And it's going really well, man. I'm really, really excited for where we are right now.
Well, you're doing the thing is, I think that is important. And of course, I know you hold yourself to a high standard in this, but the output's really good.
Thank you.
That, if it wasn't, it wouldn't have that same resonance. People wouldn't show up.
Right. And I think that's, and I apologize again if I'm taking over this conversation. But I get excited when I have conversations and I just start going.
It gets weird when you stop talking. That's what happens. Well, so talk all you want.
I have a nice, circling back to yin and yang. I live out by myself in the desert. I live like 5 minutes away from my kid, and I love it. I love it because it's such a nice contrast to being on tour, and it's such a nice contrast to being in Buffalo. And I own a couple businesses out in Buffalo, so I'm there a lot, and we practice there a lot. And so when I come back here, I'm home, and I just love. It's like a fortress of solitude kind of thing. Speaking of which, you see that Superman trailer yesterday? Looks pretty good, huh?
It does look pretty good.
I knew it. I'm a James Gunn fan. So anyway, but. So whenever I do podcasts, it'll be like, I haven't talked to anyone yet today. And I took my kid to school, said some hellos to the parents, but, it's 1:30 and you're the first person I talked to today. So the point I was trying to make was, I don't even remember. What was the question?
It wasn't really a question. I kind of just made a statement that like then people wouldn't show up if the material wasn't good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back in the early days, it was of Every Time I Die. Not the early days, but kind of when we got to like record 3, record 4, that was even kind of unheard of. Was like bands didn't of that genre didn't really make it out of their, like, no one was really in their 30s. So when you got to their 30s, it was like, what are you guys still doing here? Slash like, what's your secret? And I would always say the same thing. Step one, the music has to be good. Before you get into like the personalities of the band and the live show and the merch, and this was even before social media and the touring and who you're touring with. And step one, the music has to be good. And so that's a no-brainer, man. That's a no-brainer. I wouldn't allow this band to come out if it was bad. There's no way I would be like, in Every Time I Die, we kind of our thing was that our records were kind of get better and better each time. That argument can be made that the second one was better than the first one, and then the third one was better than the second one, and then the last one was better than them all. I could not go from that to here's my new band, it's terrible. I would get a job at a nursery selling trees, just like I was doing when I was 16. So and it's not like an ego thing. It's not like, it's the artist in me. There's just something, there's no words for it. You just don't put your name on crap. And anytime I've had to, not saying music, but like anytime I see a t-shirt, like, and every time I buy a t-shirt that's like ugly, I'm just like, I don't remember approving that. Or like, if anybody, like anytime we do a video, because you artistically, you have to put your vision into other people's hands a lot. Sometimes you have to put it in the hands of a producer. Sometimes you have to put it in the hands of a music director. Sometimes you have to put it in the hands of your record label. And when you see your name on something you're not proud of, it's a very, very, as an artsy fartsy guy, that's one of the least, that's the downside to being born with that kind of personality, an artistic, creative purpose in life. That's your downside, is that it hurts when you're not at the top of your game. When I finish a drawing and I go, I'm starting this over, aren't I? I've done 2-week art projects, 3-week art projects that I just went, I can't let anyone see this. I can't let anybody see this. And so, yeah, with Better Lovers, the music, oh my God. One, there was no chance of it being bad just based on the talent of the people I'm surrounded with. I take myself out of the equation. Goose, Steve, Will, Greg, it's not going to be bad.
No.
But if it somehow was, we would have to go back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm.
I would be proud of them. I'd be like, wow, we did it. We made a stinker. This is amazing.
Against all odds, somehow we made a bad one.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like, circling back to athletics, like sometimes when you put too many stars on one team, the team sucks. That happened with a couple basketball teams, or it happens when you get to. But that's not the case with this. So I'm very, very fortunate.
Circling around to athletics, actually, a little bit. This is probably a weird thing that I'm sure you've heard versions of before, but I'm like the world's most mediocre powerlifter.
Okay.
I'm not very good at it, but I love it. So,
good for you.
But when I was starting that journey, before I ever got my coach, like years and years ago, I had a specific Every Time I Die related routine I was doing.
Cool.
Which was, I would put on I had to warm up and all this stuff, and the squats are the most memorable. Mm-hmm. But I'd put on Idiot, that song, and I had to get 20 reps in before the song was over.
That's cool.
And every week I had to up it by 5 pounds at least. And so it got to a point where that was impossible. Right, yeah. But it was a very specific, I don't know how I picked that track exactly. Mm-hmm. It was like, it was the right amount of energy. It was the right length. It was just like kind of all the things. And so that song is like ingrained in my head. Every time it comes on, I'm like, I have to lift. It's time to lift. Let's go. And it's that song specifically is cool. always in the playlist.
And I really appreciate stories like that, because as I was, after the band broke up, I went through all the stages of grief. And for a while I was just like, well, what is my mindset? Like where do I need to be mentally in order to, get back to myself? And sometimes when you're grieving, you don't have control over that. I like to think that I can control my mind and I can control my thoughts, and therefore you can control your feelings. But sometimes there's just situations in life, especially with grief, where you're you're at the mercy of your feelings. And I didn't want to hear every time I die. I didn't want to listen every time I die. I didn't want to see the words every time I die. I didn't want to see a t-shirt that said every time I die. I don't want to see a fan that I remember from every time I die. I was so up that I'm just like, I will start a new band and we will get all new fans, and I don't give a because a lot of them hated me anyway, so I'm just like, I don't care. I will start a whole new band, and I will never see. This is just let's just go. And I got stuck in that for a little bit because it only brought up bad memories, and I think one of my biggest aha moments was when I realized that I just didn't want to take away the joy and we don't get to decide. You know what I mean? Like if a Stone Temple Pilots song brings back a great memory for me, Stone Temple Pilots members don't get to go, well, no, we don't want you to have that good memory anymore because we don't have a good memory anymore. And I'm just using them as a dumb example.
Sure.
R.I.P. Scott Weiland. I'm just saying, like, the point I was trying to make was that the band themselves doesn't get to control. Once the music's out there, it's yours. I can't tell you not to have a good memory when you hear a song. I can't tell you not to remember the time that you saw us that ended up being one of the funnest nights of your life because before it you did this and then after it you did this, or the person that's still in your life because you met them at Tid the Season or at an every time. So I hear these stories and it really helps me get out of that funk of I never want to think about it. I never want to talk about it. I never want to hear about it. So those are the kinds of stories where I go, no, we did a good thing. Music helps a lot of people. I think music is it's more helpful than people realize. No, we're not on the front lines. We're not first responders. We're not saving babies from flaming buildings. But we provide people with help in a different kind of way, and that's it took me like decades to kind of realize, like, oh, we're doing something good here. We're not just on stage having fun. We're like, because then I can think of a million songs, a million bands where I will hear it and I will go kind of do the whole, like, what if, like, if this band broke up and it was the exact same kind of breakup, would they be able to take the joy away from hearing this song? And the answer is no. So I'm glad that that's going to be. I'm glad that there's a legacy other than the breakup, because it seemed that way for a long time too. The breakup was so cringy and so invasive and so unacceptable that I was just really worried that is all we were going to be remembered for. But here we are 3 years later, and people still come up to me with their tattoos, and they still come up to me with their stories, and just like you have a story. And so that's the kind of that makes it okay.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I know it was hard to in the context of the time, but the reason there was such a visceral reaction from everybody is because people care.
Yeah.
It meant a lot to a lot of people.
I know.
And that's why. And even the negative reactions, the only reason they're reacting so strongly is because they really care.
And that's why my opinion about telling the story has shifted. It started with, this is no one's business, let's move on, to, everyone, I'm going to burn this world to the ground once they hear my side of the story. Vengeance will be mine. Validation, I will be vindicated. And then I kind of just sank into this. Let's just move on. Let's let our actions do the talking. Let's let the new band do the talking. Let's let the fact that we're not going anywhere do the talking. But there's also that side of it where, you go, you know what? Maybe people deserve to hear the real story. Maybe people deserve to hear the truth. I mean, I have it. I have all the receipts, and maybe for the sake of the people that cared, they deserve to hear it. And trust me, 2 years ago, I didn't give a shit. I was like, everyone, let's just move on. But now times change, and I'm kind of becoming myself again. And yeah, when people will say like, "Oh, I think the fans deserve to know," like my inner circle, the people that know the whole truth. So a lot of them is like, people deserve to know. Like, these people are tattooed. These people made the trip to Buffalo for once a year. These people, they're loyal. They're loyal. And this sounds like an insult, but the band almost became like people's personality. Like, oh, you're an Eatsit fan. Like, you kind of knew what you were getting when someone came with a Eatsit background. And so those are I'm just spitballing. I'm thinking out loud here. Again, ask me in a year when we do this podcast again.
I mean, I could make an argument both ways, right? I could make an argument that you already gave everybody what they wanted, and if you don't feel the need to address it further, that's fine. And I think that the fans should be, speaking as one, I think the fans should be mature enough to respect whichever process you guys choose to take with it.
Thank you.
And I'm not just saying that. I still feel that way, because when people were calling for answers, I'm like, hey, you know what? All we deserve is what they've already given us. So settle down. And if they want to give us more, they will. And if they don't have to.
Thank you. That's very mature. That's a very mature response. I appreciate that. And I guess we're just going to say time will tell.
Yeah, I think it's whatever you feel like you need to do.
Because at the end of the day, too, I'm also relatively private. I put online what I choose to, as does everyone. What I choose to put online. Like I said, I live out here in the desert. I'm not. If I see something funny, I'll post it. But I got I got a daily routine that would surprise a lot of people. I'm not, when I'm in a relationship, I'm not really. I like to keep. Obviously. Are you married? Are you got a girlfriend?
I'm married. Yeah, I've been married for a long time.
You do it for them. You put it up for them. You know what I mean? But I'm not a flaunter of my love life. I'm not a flaunter of even my child's life. When he's looking cool and says something funny, I'll post it. Or when I'm proud of when he makes when he does something awesome at a baseball game. Yeah, for the most part, I do kind of keep to myself. And so there's that. But that's a 2024 thing, where I think everyone is just putting everything out, and maybe that strikes to the boomer in me, that I, back in my day, it was like, I don't want to see this. There is that aspect of me where I'm just like, why do people really want to know what we're? What really? Is that, you really want to know this? Okay, you really?
I approach the internet very strange. I didn't have any social media at all until 2015, when I started doing this stuff. And I didn't even have MySpace back then. I had nothing. And my theory was, the people who I need to get a hold of know how to get a hold of me, and everybody else, it doesn't matter. When I started doing this stuff, I started putting a lot of things online.
Yeah.
But even still,
it's fine. It's absolutely a personal.
Well, my wife would think that something was wrong with me if I was suddenly like, it's our whatever anniversary, let me make sure, and we'd get our selfie. She'd be like, what are you doing? Knock it off. Like, that's not you. And that's not her either. I'm sure, we'll hit some sort of milestone that we'll talk about publicly at some point. I'm guessing, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. It's just not the way, we've been married almost 17 years, so it's not like, thank you, it's we kind of have our relationship pretty, it's not based on whether I make an Instagram post about her or not, and hers is private, and she's literally never posted a photo of anything. She's been in some of my stuff here and there, but it's not her thing.
It's everyone's different. We got guys in the band who absolutely never put their significant other online, and then we got and then I've been in relationships where it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of sitting across from a hot chick right now, and she's my girlfriend. I don't want to. I guess I understand. But yeah, so my point of the whole thing is that even to tell the story, as true as it is, and as misinformed as people have been, and as much information that could be out there is not. It also comes down to the fact that I would have to open a door and let
that
people into
you can't really close.
Yeah, exactly.
Either.
Yeah. Once you open, that's another reason why maybe it has taken so long, and that's another reason why I didn't immediately say, "Hey, two sides to every story, and here's my side." I kind of went radio silent when it happened, and a part of that is because I'm uncomfortable with being like, "Okay, well, here's check out this email, and check out this screenshot, and check out this text." Like, I feel like that's an invasion of privacy. That makes me so uncomfortable when people post like screenshots of conversations on social media. It makes me so uncomfortable. I have actually said to my phone, "This is not my business. I don't want to see
Right. I don't want to see this."
this is not my business." Yeah. So there, it's a lot of unpacking. But maybe, you know what we should do? Maybe we'll do it, but not release it, and then I'll just let you decide.
Oh, geez. I don't need that kind of pressure. I would literally, if you did that, I would literally be like, I'm flipping a coin. I'm not deciding. I'm not deciding. I'd flip a coin because I can't handle that.
Or like a one man show. Like didn't like a Mike Tyson? Didn't he do like a one man play kind of stupid deal?
I don't know.
I'm again, to go back to the stand up thing. I want to get to the point where it's hilarious and it doesn't make me like kind of like laugh but still turn blood red.
It seems like you're going that way.
Yeah,
It seems like you're going that way.
I know. We're on a healthy path. We're on a healthy path.
That's good, and that's also like, hey, process it. If you choose to talk about it, do it when you're not frustrated and feeling crazy.
That's actually, and I'm sorry, I don't want to turn this whole. We were supposed to talk about gear, apparently.
Oh yeah, we might. We'll see.
But I actually did my friend's podcast about 2 months after. And I was so in shock and I was so mentally from it and just so not in a good spot that we did it. And it was like 2 hours. And he was like, "We can't put this out because you are still too mad." You know what I mean? Like, and he's like, "Trust me, you got it won't work how you want it to work. You will just sound like no one.
You're mad.
You will sound mad." And I was like, "Okay, thank you for being a very good friend and not doing this." Because I look back now and I go, "Thank God that didn't go."
Yeah. Totally.
Anyway, again, let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. I was just kind of going where the conversation led, and I feel like it led here, so I apologize.
That's fine. No, nothing to apologize for at all. I think if you felt like you needed to say that stuff, then you probably did, and you didn't say anything bad, so you're good. But we're getting close to the end of the normal main episode, but I want to give the people a little bit of gear nuggets because that's supposedly why they tune in the first place. I actually don't think that's why they tune in anymore. That's why they clicked on it 10 years ago, and they know what they're getting.
That's good news for me because I've been playing the same amp since I was 14.
What is it?
I play a Marshall 800 that I got it went from Sick of It All to Scott from Buried Alive, and then Scott. No, it's a Snapcase. Sick of It All to Snapcase to Scott from Buried Alive to me, and I got it. And I'm sad to say, I don't know if I'm going to bring it out anymore.
Is it worn out?
It's got this very charming hum that I can't seem to get rid of. I don't want to blame anyone, but I took it in to get rebiased, and the guy surprised me and did a mod on it that he thought, surprise, here's a mod that you'll love, but don't worry, you could turn it off. Well, what you couldn't turn off was the feedback that it gave ever since. But I think there's just been so many advancements in amps that I was always if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of guy. And when I was in a band with Andy was I'm gonna try new stuff. I'm a kid in a candy store. I want to fuck. He's got a different amp every tour, different pedals, different cabs, different guitars, and that's cool. I just know my personality would not do well in that type of situation because I would go off the rails. If I didn't stick to what worked, I would be exactly that. I would have a new amp, and it would be a headache for a sound guy if everybody is showing up with new stuff every tour. So I was like, I'm gonna hold it down. I'm gonna be the guy that holds it down, and I got the solid Marshall 800, Marshall on Marshall cab, tube screamer. Can't go wrong. Ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's good enough for Slash, if it's good enough for AC/DC, well, of course it's good enough for me. But even the Marshall 800s have made some crazy progress. Like Will just got one.
A new one, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, what if I just get a new one? It'll be like kind of dipping my toes into the whole thing where I'm like, it's not a new amp, but it's a new amp, What else? I'm going to look up what else he plays right now. 1 second here. The Rev Generator.
Dude.
Special edition.
Yeah.
That thing sounds sick. And I'm just so lucky to be in a band with him and lucky to have been in a band with Andy because he's got a great ear. And he kind of does when you got guys that test every single thing out, it saves you some time because then you're like, oh, I don't have to.
You're like, tell me what I get, what I need. What do I need? Yep.
Right.
Oh, and what do I need for me? Because I play a little differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you I mean, you mentioned the tube screamer. Do you dip your toe into the pedal world? Because the pedal world's dangerous. I'm here to tell you from experience.
Better lovers. And that's another, not to keep bringing up every time I die, but it's a part of my life. So, of course, I'm going to talk about it. I like to talk about it. When I talk about the past, I like to talk about the past in regards to how it has helped me progress and achieve what I've achieved currently.
Of course.
I don't want to live in the past, but you also can't ignore the past. And you want to build on the past. And so, Better Lovers, equipment-wise, and has kind of added to that chapter of my life where I now am a pedal guy. It's now my least favorite part of the show is the fact that I have to tap dance now, and I never, ever, ever had to. I mean, I'm talking like, okay, Idiot was maybe the only time in the history of the band where I had to go, okay, we have to hit an octave pedal now. Just for
right.
that. Other than that, it's like 9 records where I turn on the tube screamer, I turn on the noise gate, and I'm going. Now we got our own pedal, which we actually used on the record and sold 50 of. Let me see if I can find it here. I think it's just called a Better Lovers pedal. I mean, it's just it's a distortion pedal. Rules.
Who makes that?
Spooky. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't think I do, actually.
Vibes.
Oh, this is not something I'm super familiar with. I'm going to have to Google later.
It is a Night Terror Overdrive Better Lovers edition by Spooky Vibes. They made it and with Will, and then we loved it. And they're like, she wanted us to like manufacture them, but they're all handmade. So the number is low. We made 50 and we sold them on Black Friday, and they sold out right away. With good reason. They sound amazing. So I'm doing that instead of a tube screamer now. But
cool.
What's my pedal board looking like? I got the hold on, actually I have some pedals here. I got the essentials. Is it okay if I take like a 10-second break and run to the other room?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I have like a smaller version. I can't bring like the big version to Europe, and so I had to get the essentials, and so we got this guy, which I love. This is a Jack White triple graph.
Oh, the triple graph, yeah.
And it's so cool to use. We use it a lot. It's got an up, a down, and a mute, and that's it. And we go
Copper Sound Pedals makes that. Well, those guys came on and told the whole story of how that pedal got made. It was great.
I love it, man. It's great. We go down a lot. We go up, not as much, but it's still good for really cool parts. Here's that Spooky Vibes one.
Oh, that looks cool.
Yeah, but the ones you can buy are green. This one's gray. Noise suppressor. This is the chorus I use for some.
The Walrus Fathom. Yeah,
for some leads. This is actually a different chorus that I use for
classic.
There's 2 parts just to have a completely different kind of like a more faster rate. So that I don't have to like go down and change between everything. I got, one chorus for one group of songs, one for another. This is all I'm doing for the delay right now, and I like it. But
it's such a good one.
Yeah,
I love the Dispatch Master. Yeah. That's great.
I wish I had one. There was like a period where I was trying to be a pedal guy, and every time I die, and I just never took to it. But I did like the Line 6 where you can like tap tempo. For your delay. So I do miss that. And that's all I'm taking. Those are all the essentials besides the tuner and the noise suppressor and the wireless. It's funny, too, because when Will was kicking around the idea of doing a custom pedal, it's like, what should we do? Should we just do, like, a distortion? Like, what do you think of when you think of Better Lovers? I was like, we should make a tuner. Like a better, because that's the most important thing on the pedal board. That is absolutely the most important thing on the pedal board is a tuner. We should make a Better Lovers tuner, and it was like one of those like, that's a joke that we might take seriously kind of things. A lot of times, we make jokes, and then they'll come to life, and we'll be like, "Oh, we were serious about that." So like, I could totally see all of a sudden like 50 Better Lovers tuners like showing up at Will's house and us going like, oh, I thought that was just a joke. But maybe one day.
I like it. Yeah. And the guitars, like, are you still playing the same guitars as well, or is that rotating?
So when I was a kid, I had my dad got me amazing Candy Apple Blue, and I'm gonna have to go get this now too.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go. This beauty. So I know, yeah. Candy Apple Blue SG. It's come full circle. Okay, so check this out. When I was a kid, or just starting in the band, I'm talking like before Hot Damn, like when we had like a 5-song EP, did a couple shows with that, and it broke. And then my dad put it back together. Sounds great. And then I started getting ESPs for free around 2003. And so I'm just like, why would I bring out like nice guitars? Like I get free, not saying ESP is not nice. I'm just saying, but the LTDs, up until, and then I started getting Eclipses. And I was like, well, I'm not going to bring out my nice, expensive guitars because I get free LTDs. And then I started getting Eclipses, and I'm like, I love these Eclipses. So why would I bring out, I'm going to keep the nice guitars at home and touring. And then, I post-pandemic and recently, I'm just like, well, I love my Eclipses and I get it, but it's like, I got these nice guitars. Why don't I bring these out? Like it went full circle. It went from like, why on earth would I bring out my nice guitars to why on earth am I not bringing out my nice guitars? It probably just comes down to the fact that now I know how to get through a show without breaking a guitar.
I think that's it. I was going to say, I think that's probably it right there.
I've rarely broken them on purpose. It's mostly been an accident of like you make a wrong turn, a wrong twist, a wrong jump, and next thing you know, the neck hits something it's not supposed to. I don't know if I've ever broken one out of frustration. Maybe once. And that, again, was early when you was like, your equipment stops working and you're like, I got to make up for this somehow. I got to entertain the crowd since like they had to hear, 3 songs cutting in and out. I guess they get to treat them to a guitar smash.
Yep.
But I don't think I think I can honestly say I can get through a show without breaking a guitar. I had one break on a flight, but other than that, I'm like, I can do it now. I can take the SG back out on tour and not come home with it in pieces. Oh, I just broke a Viper. God damn it! I take back everything I said. It wasn't, but again, that was an accident. That was an accident, and that was me just being a rock and roller, dude. I'm just throwing my guitar up in the air, Kurt from Nirvana style, and catching it at the biggest show we had ever played in 2,000 Trees. And I must have thrown a guitar in the air and caught it over 100 times, and I didn't catch the last one, so I will not be doing that with the SG.
You won't be chucking the SG. That's probably for the best. That's probably for the best. But you throw enough guitars in the air, eventually you're gonna miss one. It's just,
right.
Odds,
So statistically speaking, the odds are not in your favor.
No. Well, hey man, we've been going for a while, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I could go all day, to be honest.
Yeah, thank you, man. Like I said, if you get me going, sometimes I don't stop. So thank you for stopping me.
Well, I'm not going to stop you just yet.
You're you're a treat. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that very much. I've got some other stuff I want to get into on Patreon, and before I let you go, I have classic questions that I wrap every episode up with. And I want to ask you those before we leave. That's cool.
Yeah.
Before I do that, you got the ears of a few thousand people right now. You can shout out anybody you want to shout out, plug anything you want to plug. Say hi to your grandma. The floor is yours now.
Oh man, what the? No, we're going to the UK in January. We're going out with Poison the Well, Glassjaw, and Teenage Wrist in April.
I saw that. I'm trying to go to the Portland. We'll see if I make it. I hope I do.
I'm on Raya. Find me on Raya.
I don't know what that is. Oh, that's the dating app.
Yep. It was like, it got told to me, like when I heard about it, it was like, this sounds so douchey, I'm so sorry. But it was like the dating app for celebrities. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not doing Tinder. I can't get into that. I don't even want to get into that world. I just really don't. But at the same time, your boy's 43 years old looking for love. So someone on our crew was talking about it and how he was on it. And I was like, I thought that was like just for celebrities. He's like, that's how it started. But like now you have to apply and you have to like get a sounds so douchey. You have to like get a recommendation, and you have to like, and then they look at all your social media and see, like, it's basically they just make sure there's not pieces there on the app. It's actually for like normal, non-degenerates. But having said that, as soon as I got on, I was in Buffalo, and I looked on. It's like, look at all the people in your area, and it was just me and just professional athletes, like Buffalo Bills, like so the girls that are choosing, or they can go multi-millionaire, Pro Bowl Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres. So it's fun. I'm gonna get off of it. It's a nice experiment for a month. I'm just trying to think of things I can plug. My kids' baseball team is done until spring. I can't even plug that. Let's see here. Go see Greg, whatever Greg's doing. He's always busy. Go see Will, whatever Will's doing. He's always busy. If you're in Buffalo, go to our bar. Me and Steve bought a bar called Buffalo Tap House. Best wings in Buffalo. Vegan wings too. So if you're there, do that. No, man, life's good. Everyone just keep doing what you're doing. And thanks for, I got nothing to sell right now. again, at the end of the year, maybe things will change because the art stuff is going real well, but I'm pretty much just doing it for the band. I kind of got to figure out how to do that differently.
That's some stuff I want to talk to you about on Patreon.
Yeah. I'm lucky in the fact that I can kind of do what I want with that. Like I can, if I want to make T-shirts, I'll make T-shirts. If I want to do posters, I'll do posters. I got 2 months off in between in February and March. I think I might just get back into painting. So you might see me just Bob Ross style selling some landscape painting in a couple.
I love
months.
it.
We'll see.
All right, final questions.
Yeah.
First one, and you might have already answered this. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
The Metal Zone.
The Metal Zone. All right, I like it. I've got a murdered out Metal Zone right down there on the floor.
I kind of want to play. I mean, I had it. We all had it. Wait, does Boss? Do they do the Tube Screamer? No, that's a.
They do a Tube Screamer, but they don't do the Tube Screamer.
Okay.
That's Ivan.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Metal Zone. Just cause
Metal Zone.
Yeah, because I want to bring them back.
I like it. No, I'm a big fan. I've got a couple. I've got 2 Metal Zones. One murdered out one I got from Boss. Thank you, Aaron. You're the man. And it's I love the Metal Zone. I have a soft spot for the Metal Zone.
The only Boss thing I use is the noise suppressor. So
it's great. The NS2 is fantastic.
Yeah, I'd be a poser if I said anything other than that or the Metal Zone, just because of my fond memories.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. All right, final question. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
I try my hardest to. Well, I haven't had red meat in ages. I'll cheat and do chicken wings when I'm in Buffalo. I try not to do dairy for dietary reasons. So unfortunately, my answer is probably pretty boring. It's probably just like a veggie, I love vegetables. I love vegetables. You get me like a Papa John. Like, is it a cheat day or is it like a normal day?
Let's go with the cheat day.
Oh, I mean, is it like last meal, like I'm on death row? Yeah, man, there's Lenova in Buffalo that's got great pizza. There's a place called TK Gallery right by my parents' house. Buffalo actually is, I know they're mostly known for chicken wings, but they're like sub known for pizza too. Like low key, like, yo, Buffalo's got an amazing pizza. Allentown Pizza has great pizza. Actually,
I've heard about this. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, if I was on death row, I'd probably go like a just a supreme everything but mushrooms. I love mushroom. I shouldn't say that. I love delic mushrooms. I don't like eating mushrooms on things. It's like one of the only foods that I actually genuinely don't like. And I've tried like stuffed mushrooms. I can't do. I think that the 2 pizza toppings that I genuinely don't enjoy, like I like pepperoni. I just haven't eaten it in ages. The ones I don't enjoy are mushrooms and tomatoes because I don't like hot. They're like gross and slimy and mushy.
I'm not. Yeah, I like tomato products, but just having straight up hot, slimy tomatoes on things, no, thank you.
So there's that. Yeah, I'd go Allentown pizza to support my friend Joe, and I'd say put everything on it but tomatoes and mushrooms.
I like it. It's a good choice. Good choice. Well, Jordan, I think we can sign off. We're going to slide over to Patreon. I want to talk about some art stuff over there. Let's do it. Cool. All right, everybody. For Jordan, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones.
All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I really hope we do get to do the annual conversation thing like he hinted at on this show. I really love talking to him, and thanks to Jordan for taking the time, and thank you to everybody who's taken the time to watch this. Please share, like, subscribe, all that good YouTube-y stuff. I really appreciate it. Thank you all so much, folks, and don't forget, you can get the audio version of this show wherever you get your podcast. So thank you all so much, and I'll talk to you on the internet very soon.